As we dive further in the topic of narcissism, NPD for short, right? Narcissistic personality disorder. Here we have a segment on Vice TV, I believe, and here we have a diagnosed narcissist, and he reveals why he can never have friends. And it's interesting what he says. I want people to pay attention, and hopefully you'll see where I'm going with this.
Friends as a child?
No, that's an easy one. I don't think I could be a true friend to anyone in the sense that I don't think I will have an emotional correlate. If I become friends with you, there will always be the question of what's in it for me? How can I leverage you to obtain certain goals? There will always be some kind of comeuppance. Like I would always try to compete with you and establish a hierarchy. It will be contaminated, a contaminated version of friendship. It's so contaminated that I sincerely doubt whether it complies with the definition.
Do you have any friends as a child?
No.
Now, that's interesting what he's saying. That's very interesting what he's saying. Now, as far as him being a diagnosed narcissist, um, I believe this. If he's that self-aware to where he's like, man, I can't even really have people around me like that, I don't think he qualifies as a narcissist. But I don't know if anybody remembers this when I did my mental health stream where I dive into narcissism personality disorder, histrionic personality disorder, borderline personality disorder, and all these things. I actually went through all the definitions of these things. Now, me personally, I don't think he qualifies. So right here, we have the actual definition of narcissistic personality disorder. And here we said, reading from the mayoclinic.org, it says here, it's a mental health condition in which people have an unreasonably high sense of their own importance. They need to seek too much attention and want people to admire them. So he meets that definition right here, but pay attention to this part. It says here, people with this disorder may lack the ability to understand or care about the feelings of others. So, if that's the case, how can this guy here, when he said from his mouth, I can never really have friends, so I already keep them at a distance because I already know what I am as a person. How can you deem him the bad guy if he's telling you who he is? Now, what's interesting, I took this post from Free the Girls from Narcissists, right? So let's check out their page real quick. This has to be this should be interesting. This should be a little bit interesting if I check out their page. So here the page is called Free the Girls from the Narcissist. From Narcissist. Free the Girls from Narcissist. So this is why I always tell people don't go to these when we talking about these psych majors, when you talking about therapy, it's very biased against men, and you're most likely gonna. I'm talking about in the field of therapy. It's like over 70 or 75% women, and only a certain percentage of men, right? And it's like less than 20% men, and then on top of that, you got to exclude the uh men that identify as reading rainbow, if you know what I mean. Right? So you got to exclude members of the alphabet mafia on there. So how many straight men are actually therapists? And these are people who I would recommend, you know what I mean, if you're looking for therapy, because you have especially these new girls coming in through with their degrees, and they're just not fully. You can't have no 20-year-old therapist. That makes no sense. And you know what I mean, a 20-year-old counselor, a girl in their 20s is a counselor. That makes, come on. So these are people that I be trying to like tell people you got to avoid. Okay. So let's see if we can hit back, but or let's see some of this. So this is basically aimed to say, oh, free, you know, uh this is talking about, like, you know what I'm saying? Oh, this post is talking about my ex, right? So you're gonna see all, when you see a post like this, uh when a diagnosed narcissist is talking about um his issues, you're gonna see all the girls in the comment section, my ex. Oh, you see this comment right here, my ex. This is talking about my ex. Yeah, so you already see this coming. But let's play this video one more time. I want to break it down for you real quick and share you my true thoughts.
Friends as a child?
No,
Was that?
that's an easy one.
Now, in terms of friendship as a child, that can happen to anybody. You know, that wouldn't be, to me, that wouldn't even be a symptom of narcissism. That could be a factor of many things. You know, like like I said, I've dived deep into this. Like, if oh, how about this here? Even though I don't agree with a lot of things Jordan Peterson says, I think he's one of the legion of the trad con artists that are just trying to lead men right back into slavery. But I remember him talking about um a child's psychology, how a kid grows up, certain interactions when kids are very little, how those interactions or how they grow up in certain environments will literally determine the way they socially interact with people for the rest of their lives. And people really should dive into that, what Jordan Peterson is saying on that end. But we want to lean on him on relationship advice, and that's not that's not the move. People really should look at what he was talking about, how if kids don't develop that social camaraderie at like preschool, daycare, if they can't get that in check, that's going to literally hamper them for the rest of their life. So I took that as, look, it looks like I was spot on in calling out, you got like daycare workers that will separate certain kids, right? If I'm talking about, it'll be female teachers that are beefing with 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 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds, right? And any chance they get, what they do is put these kids in timeout anytime it's time for playtime, right? Or it's time for kids to start playing with each other at recess or certain things. What they do is, at those key times, what they do is they separate that kid from everybody else. So that hampers that kid's social ability. And not only that, it discourages most of the kids from talking to him, for even hanging out with them, because they don't want to be in timeout as well. This is the dangers of, daycare. This is the dangers of public schools, what they can do, the damage it could do to a kid. But we can get into that another time.
I don't think I can be a true friend to anyone in the sense that I don't think I will have an emotional correlate. If I become friends with you, there will always be the question of what's in it for me? How can I leverage you to obtain certain goals?
Now, anybody that looks at the average American woman's Instagram profile, this is how they set up their page. And this is why they will never delete their Instagram. Women will never delete their Instagram, because it's leverage, right? They always are trying to make sure they can position themselves to where they can say, "Oh, I got ninjas with blue checks DM me." When blue checks used to be a thing, right? Or when, and women have talked about this on this page. They There have been women that have said women don't really have real friends, especially nowadays, because what they do is they pick the woman that will look good with them on Instagram, that will make their page look better, or their videos look better, or their stories look better, make their Snapchat look litty. right? And this is how a lot of women, particularly in America, do these things.
There will always be some kind of comeuppance. Like I would always try to compete with you and establish a hierarchy. It will be contaminated, a contaminated version of friendship.
Now, when he's talking about the hierarchies right now, how many times have you heard women say, "Oh, like they'll make like jokes on Instagram where basically I'll stop liking a dude if I don't find out he's the leader of his friend group," and then like men have literally been trying to tell women, like, we don't work that way. There's no hierarchy of, oh, this is the leader of the friend group is. And they will try to convince us that we do have a leader, and it's like it really doesn't work that way. Even if you have a guy that's like the leader of a music group, it still don't work that way a lot of the times. I'll say even most of the times. You know what I mean? Where the actual leader of the band is like like the captain of the teams most of the time is not the best player on the team. When we're talking about, it's particularly when you're talking about male sports, and even in high school, even in college, but particularly in professional sports, most of the time, the leader of the team is not the best player on the team. Like they don't get this, but it's there's something to that. You know what I mean? There's something to that. Or they just give it to the goalkeeper. But nobody considers the goalkeeper the best player on the team. I'm talking about soccer right now. But it's that's especially like in basketball, man, come on. But like people don't understand the nuances of that. And even then, you still got your veterans who are their own leaders in their own rights. You can't just tell the veterans anything if you're the cap. Like is there's no hierarchies. At most, it will go by probably veteran leadership, and even then, it's just you know what I mean. There's no leaders, but that's how women look at things like that. They in their friend groups, they are. It's a bit of hyena like. You know what I mean. So this that's how they operate in terms of friendship, and they try to project that onto men, basically.
It's so contaminated that I sincerely doubt whether it complies with the definition.
Do you have any
So
friends?
I don't understand how he can be that self-aware, but then still the clinician or the therapist, the pseudo therapist, who most likely was a woman, probably saw this guy, was like, oh yeah, he's a narcissist. Now I don't know when he was diagnosed as being a narcissist. I really hope it was not when he was young. I really hope not, because like I said, there needs to be more male therapists and stuff like that in these fields, because you got it's the reason why I don't trust therapists, particularly female therapists. I just know who they are as people. And I really don't think they have the tools necessary to make these sort of diagnoses. And especially when you look at this right here. Let me show you something. So right here, if you look where I'm gonna highlight, so here it says it is a rare diagnosis, fewer than 200,000 US cases per year. But right here, they say narcissistic personality disorder is found more commonly in men. But when you look at the symptoms right here, symptoms include an excessive need for admiration, disregard for others' feelings, an inability to handle any criticism, and a sense of entitlement. Now, in today's age, particularly with today's men and today's women, that does not sound like most guys I know. That sounds like most American girls I know. An excessive need for admiration, Instagram, disregard for others' feelings, and inability to handle any criticism, and a sense of entitlement. I mean, who does that sound like to you? That does not sound like the app. That doesn't you, even if you don't think it's woman, that doesn't sound like the average man I'd be meeting. Trust me, like if you're out there, that doesn't sound like the average man. Now, what ends up happening is you have these guys who are very high achieving, high men with very high achievements and very demanding male personalities. Those are the guys that end up getting that diagnosis because they have the money to kind of just go to something like that. And really, the therapist is just fascinated by the guy, but they still want to put a label on him to just to that's another story. But and then they end up getting these labels. But right here, since we have the time, let's look up the symptoms of narcissistic personality disorder. Sense of self importance, preoccupation with power, beauty, or success, entitled, can only be around people who are important or special, interpersonally exploitive for their own gain, arrogant, lack empathy, and must be admired. Now, I want to focus on something that I didn't on one of the last live streams I did when we talk about the entitlement and how entitlement is one of the more damning symptoms of narcissistic personality disorder, combined with the sense of self-importance. So when you take the combination of entitlement, the sense of self-importance, right, and the preoccupation with power and beauty or success, so now that's three of the symptoms, interpersonally exploited for their own gain, so that's four, arrogant arrogance and arrogance. Just with those four symptoms right there, I can literally use that to describe I can use that literally to describe damn near all the WNBA players trying to say that they need thinking that they deserve more money. Any woman that's asking for equal pay, right? That think there's a gender wage gap. Those people suffer from narcissistic personality disorder. Any woman, let me repeat that again. Any woman that still believe in this wage gap theory, this is a woman that has narcissistic personality disorder. Because I'm looking at these symptoms and I'm looking at these so-called women rights activists, right? Or these people that think they are human rights activists. And really they can be put under this label, right? Any woman that has their baby father on child support, alimony, that might be a different discussion. We could talk about that another time, but specifically child support. If a woman has her baby father on child support, she is a narcissist because we all know how that system is. If if her baby father has to fight for 50-50 custody, if she's putting her baby father through the ringer to have 50-50 custody and he has to fight for it, that is a narcissist. The woman that's making that process so difficult just to have what's rightfully his, to put him through a system, that is a narcissist. That is a woman that suffers from narcissistic personality disorder. Now, a lot of what I just told you, that's most. That's most. Now, I don't understand how it's such a rare diagnosis. Uh, it's so rarely diagnosed. I don't know why. Well, I know why, but I don't know why like it should be more it should be a more common diagnosis than reported. You know what I mean? And it shouldn't be like it's mostly common amongst men. because that's ridiculous. But I think they understand that stigma with the word narcissist. So, you know how you like women will be quick to say, "Oh, I got BPD," right? Or I have anxiety, or I have this, I have depression. You know what I mean? They'll cling to that, but not really. If women really started getting that diagnosis of NPD, people would have to start changing their ways, because you can't brag on it, or you can't really, it'll be really hard for you to move around with that label on your back. You know what I mean? How about this? I'll add another thing. Any girl, any tradcon girl trying to talk about men need to fight for women's sports, you are a narcissist, because you are the same people that were riding the coattails of, oh, we should have equal pay. And really, you wasn't fighting against that. But now that is really equality. Now you got men joining your sports. Now you want men, now you want other men that you don't really care about to fight for women's sports. You are a narcissist. Riley Gaines, you are a narcissist. Any track call girl that claim to fight for rights of men, you are a narcissist. Sadia Khan. I don't know if I'm saying her name right. Oh, Brittany Venti. Who else? Who else am I? Lauren Chen. Who else am I missing? Michaela Peterson. Who else am I missing? These are narcissists. These are narcissists. Candace Owens. Even though I agree with a lot of the stuff that she does say, but sorry, we're gonna call a spade here. Who else am I missing? Who else am I missing? Who was that 37-year-old girl that calling 37-year-old track alleged track girl that called in on Undead Chronic show? What's her name? Jade something? Yeah, she's a narcissist. She's a narcissist. But like, yeah, this is my problem with that diagnosis, because I don't think the right people are getting the right people. I'm sorry, the how do I say this without sounding retarded? How I don't think the people that are getting the diagnosis of NPD, I don't think it's the right term. It should be given something else, but I believe NPD is being underdiagnosed and is being overdiagnosed on the wrong gender. That's what I believe. If that sounds right.